Well, hello, everyone.
Hello, hello.
I'm still doing my social media bit. Hold on one second. Gotta take care of the social media. That's what we do. You know what I mean? We gotta take care of it. Okay. Hi. Whew, sorry about that. I was just literally telling Katie before the show, it is freezing where we are, but I have the heat cranked on in my house, so I am low-key sweating because I do have my winter hat on too. So officially for me, my personal football season has come to an end. So as upset as I may be, maybe more a little bit on the upset side with Bama, aggravated with the New York Giants, I'm closing out the season with repping everyone. So I don't have gear for fantasy football. I don't know where you can get things like that, but if there is fantasy football gear, let me know. Next time I'll wear like gloves or something. So but thank you guys, as always, for joining us. This is the Real Football Fans of New Jersey. This is episode 188. Oh, my goodness. Keep tacking away. It's our second episode of 2020. I am so excited for this year. Katie,
not 2020, 2022.
Oh, God. You know what's funny? I keep saying that. Like, that was literally 2 years ago, and I don't know what it is. I think 2020 just rolls off the tongue. And maybe it's like PTSD where it comes out. It is 2022. It's an extra syllable. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's too much to say.
It's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. And like, I'm not really like about that. So, but it is 2022. And we have so much in store for you this year. Honestly, we are so excited to be back with you guys again for another year. So excited to be back with you guys again for another episode. Funny coming in on YouTube already. What's up, guys? Slow sports news week so far, right? Yikes. Not slow at all, especially in the New York region, which we will get to. Don't you worry. We know we have a lot of Giants followers, a lot of Giants fans following us. We will address everything, so don't worry. But yeah, so why don't we go ahead and get into it? As always, we love to come after you guys every single week and poll you. We got a ton of engagement today. Thank you, as always, on Instagram and Twitter from our poll questions. We gave you 3. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So we've got 2 football questions for you and 1 housewives question. So the first one, which divisional rival playoff matchup are you most looking forward to? The choices we gave you guys were New England versus Buffalo, or Arizona versus the Los Angeles Rams. So those are your options. 80% of you, so majority rules, came back to us with New England versus Buffalo. Katie, what did you vote on this one?
I went with New England versus Buffalo, but I'm a bit surprised that it was such a strong majority, considering the fact that both of these divisional matchups, when they played each other in the regular season, they were split. They went 1-1 against each other, both New England and Buffalo, and then the Rams and Arizona. And to tell you the truth, I actually think the Arizona Rams game is going to be closer score-wise, but the Bills are one of my favorite teams to watch. I think they're so fun. And it is very intriguing to see how Bill Belichick is going to do back in the playoffs, a rookie quarterback. I like the storylines better in that matchup. So I'm more excited to watch that one. What about you?
I am too. And, I ended up picking that game as well because it really, when I found out that they were going up against each other, I got that thrill. It was almost like your hair standing up on your arm.
It's like, this is playoff football, baby. This is what we wait for.
And I must say, I love this wild card weekend. I love this playoff slate. I think that, and this is just coming from the mouth of a true just football fan. I'm so excited to see what this weekend's to come, but then obviously the entire playoffs. And I could sit here and tell you right now, I don't know who's going to make the Super Bowl. And that excites me. It truly, truly excites me as a football fan. So I ended up going with this game also. And you guys will see, we're going to play a game later. But with Arizona and the Rams, as I was doing more research, into the game, into the game on this weekend, and into everything like so far in the season, like I did kind of excite myself a little bit for that game, but I'm still very much more excited for New England and Buffalo here. So
they're
definitely going to be a good one.
Both are excellent matchups. Like the playoff gods were like, here you go. Here's these two phenomenal games that you get to watch.
The whole weekend is good. Like I'm ready for it. Like let's fast forward to Saturday right now.
Oh, please.
Alrighty, so number 2. So this is for the entire 2021 season. So who was the sketchier team this year? The Indianapolis Colts or the Los Angeles Chargers? 69% of you said the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, I went with the Chargers actually, and we did ask this question because I believe that these are the 2 sketchiest teams of the NFL season, and trust me, there were many sketchy teams. So I kind of like had to go back and look at both of their schedules and remind myself of the games they won and the games they lost. Indy had that really slow start, but then they were a powerhouse, and teams were really afraid to face them in the playoffs. They looked like a shoo-in. Right. Obviously, they choked worse than I've ever seen a team choke in recent history, losing the last 2 to miss the playoffs. So I feel as though up until that very end, like they kind of weren't that sketchy. They had been good and consistent for like a while after that beginning hiccup. Whereas Chargers were up and down and up and down and up and down all season long. They had phenomenal, like big time wins. And then they just had really random head scratching losses. I felt as though going into the season, I had higher expectations too for the Chargers over Indy. I really thought this was going to, you and I both were like, the Chargers are our dark horse playoff team before the season even started.
I think I had them going to the Super Bowl, my dumbass.
Yeah, they were a huge disappointment, and I think they were the sketchier team.
Yeah, and like I 100% agree with you. I went with the Chargers as well, literally on every point that you made. But what bothers me with both teams is that you did so. Indianapolis was consistent, like you had said, but the Chargers had like real high highs, real low lows. How are you both organizations putting yourself in a position where in week 18 you have to win to get in? Like you can't, if you're that good of an organization.
I mean, like Indy had week 17 to win and get in. So
I know.
Who tries at it?
You sincerely had it. So to me, they're both sketchy in that matter. Like you cannot be the organization or the franchise that you say you are from this past season and have to like win to get in this late in the season. So that's what I have to say about that. But yeah, you're exactly correct with the Chargers too, because then you watch them in that game to get in, and Justin Herbert leads up and down the field, is throwing. Listen, I hate the fact that they go to 4th down every single time and then make miraculous plays. That gives me the agito when you're watching the game. Just do it on 2nd down like a normal person. But so why do you lose that game? And I know that the whole tie thing was weird, but like, why like that? So I definitely agree with you on that for sure. So. Yeah. Oh, and I would love to, honestly, if you guys voted Indianapolis, we'd love to hear why. So,
yeah.
All right. And wrapping it up with a housewives question. And we were talking about, some romance in here. So we had reported a couple of weeks back that Dolores Catania has a new boyfriend. So we're just asking you guys, and we did post a picture. Do you think he's cute or not? So a whopping 78% of you went with no.
Yeah, I went with no. And here's the thing. I did say this to Caitlin before the show started. I think if we see him on the show and we ever get to like learn his personality, that he could become attractive.
Right.
And I said to Caitlin, if she started dating Frank Catania tomorrow and we asked you guys this question, I would say, no, he's not cute. But we love Frank Catania, personality-wise. Oh. So for us, we're like, he's the cutest. Like, we love him.
I know.
So there is hope for Dolores's boyfriend to become cute once we learn his personality. But he's very much so not my type of man.
What is his name again? What is his name?
Paul.
Paul? Okay, Paul. Yes. Well. But yeah, so I put yes, and I was actually very overwhelmed with how many people want to know. And I think my argument for yes is that I don't think he's unattractive. And I think that's if I like walked by him in the street, would I be like slowing down and be like, you know, give me your number? No, I wouldn't do that anyway right now. But just like in like an actual like attractiveness, I wouldn't like stop in my tracks and be like, wow, that person.
I'll put it this way. I think the other cast members of New Jersey, if they were single women and they saw him, they would be like, yeah, he's fine. Like,
well, because he's your typical like.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
New Jersey
typical kind of guy. I think they would all like him. Me personally, that's not my type.
Yeah, definitely not mine either, but I don't think he's bad looking. So that's why I said yes. No, he's really not. So that's why I put yes. So it is what it is. We'll see a little bit more. I'm also like a huge like proponent of like pictures. Like, you know, sometimes I think you are more attractive in person. Like, listen, I'm not very photogenic, so I'd rather you meet me in person. But I'm not. Some people don't know how to smile, so we've all been blessed with certain things. Some people aren't as good with the pictures, but that was a fun one to do for sure. And hopefully, I know we're not going to see him on this season. I think they've confirmed, but maybe in future seasons to come.
I mean, that's a long ways down the road for the next filming, so we'll see if they're together. If we'll ever get a sneak peek at him, we'll find out.
We could. I mean, and listen, we're from New Jersey. Maybe we can just run into them in public. I don't know. Anything could happen. But thank you guys, as always, for participating in our polls. We love doing them. It's so much fun. We get so much engagement. So thank you guys for doing that. As always, if you are watching live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter right now, feel free to engage with us throughout the show. You can talk about these poll questions. You can comment on any of our topics for the rest of the show. Ask us questions, anything like that. Quick reminder, though, if you are watching on Twitter, you have to reply to the tweet if you want me to see it. We are still facing that issue with StreamYard, as many creators are. Or you can pop on over to YouTube or Facebook. While Katie's talking next, I will go ahead and put the YouTube link in there for you. But yeah, let us know. Talk to us throughout the show. We love talking to you guys.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into our big stories of the week in the world of football. Obviously, like, we had a lot going on. We were wrapping up the regular season. We had the national championship game. We had Black Monday. We have to talk about all of it. So on Black Monday, as it is labeled, the day, you know, first day after the regular season.
Not Black Friday.
Right. This is not a good one. This is not a good one.
Not Cyber Monday.
Yeah. So Black Monday is the first day after the regular season ends in the NFL, usually the day where a lot of head coaches who are on the hot seat will end up finding out whether they're keeping their jobs or not. And we have many firings to talk about. So, Chicago. And by the way, everybody that, because we were talking about it last week, everybody that I thought was going to get fired, everyone that I named got fired. There were some additional, but everybody that I thought was going to get fired did. And I think, Kate, probably you too, I believe.
I think we went through all the options last week. But we said there's certain names on there that I was like, I don't think so. So.
Well, Chicago fired head coach Matt Nagy, as we all kind of expected. I think his seat was the hottest out of everybody. And they also fired general manager Ryan Pace. Denver, they fired head coach Vic Fangio. Expected that one. Minnesota, they fired head coach.
That happened early. That happened on Sunday, actually. So,
yeah, I mean, some of them happened right after their games were over. Yeah. So. Minnesota fired head coach Mike Zimmer and general manager Rick Spielman. This was the one that really shocked Caitlin and I. I think it shocked most of the football world. Definitely, I saw a bunch of players tweeting about it, being very surprised. Miami fired head coach Brian Flores.
I need a full essay why they did it. I would love them to I need they already made a statement on it, but it was just saying they were relieving him of his duties. I need a full research report, a 20 to 30 page research report as to why you let him go.
I think the fact that Miami won that many games with the roster that they have, which I'm not very impressed with their roster, the fact that they were able to go on that kind of win streak that they did and have what I think was a better season than I would have expected for them. It just made no sense to me. No. So that was a very strange one. And then coming when I really thought the dust had settled and the firings were done and Joe Judge was coming back for another year, the Giants were the last to the party to announce and make the decision that they are in fact firing head coach Joe Judge. And as expected, but kind of a little bit of a twist, general manager Dave Gettleman is quote unquote retiring. So I think that was just like a nice way to let him ride off into the sunset.
Which is bullshit.
Regardless, he was going to get fired if he didn't retire. So the Giants are on the lookout for their next head coach and their next GM. NFL.com's Judy Batista, and this was before the Joe Judge announcement. I think most people thought it was like over and done with, all the firings. But on NFL.com, we did have an article from Judy Batista ranking the head coach openings from most to least enticing. Like if you're going to land one of these jobs, which one do you want? So in order, starting with most desirable, she has Las Vegas, which understandable. Out of this list, they are the only team that are currently in the postseason. Makes sense. At 2, she has the Denver Broncos, 3 Jacksonville Jaguars, 4 Miami Dolphins, 5 Chicago Bears, and 6 the Minnesota Vikings. I was a little surprised that she had Minnesota at
That is not my, I don't agree with her list whatsoever, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I understand, even though Jacksonville was like the worst team in the league this year, I kind of get like somebody wanting the opportunity to maybe work with a young quarterback like Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think if you and I had done these rankings, they would have been a little bit different.
No. I mean, with the Vikings, like I know when we spoke last week, Mike Zimmer was technically on the hot seat. I really didn't see it coming, to be honest.
I thought it was going to happen.
I really didn't. A lot of like a theme that we saw, this Black Monday too, was a lot of head coach, general manager out the door. So we did see that theme across the board as well. I don't know. Because the Vikings are, again, like they could do some shady shit for sure, but they're
capable
still
of making the playoffs. Some of these teams right now are not capable of making the playoffs.
So, like, I wonder, like, if the Vikings made the playoffs, won one game maybe, or maybe didn't even win, like, do you still fire Mike Zimmer? Like, I don't know.
No, I think if they had made the playoffs this year, they would have kept Mike Zimmer. I do.
So then what yeah.
But I think this for them was like, this was his, like, okay, do or die this season. Like, you make the postseason, you're fine. If you miss it, we have to let you go. I think it was like his end all be all this season.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting list for sure, but I don't know.
I also feel like, by the way, because once it starts, it's like it just spirals out of control. Like once somebody does it, then they all start coming in, like the hirings. And I know everybody's interviewing right now.
Yeah,
I feel like it's not my favorite list of potential candidates. I don't feel
you're
like
not the only one that has said that. That's a very
hot names out there right now. And granted, I'm going to be honest with you. I was not in the mindset as a Giants fan, even though maybe I should have been. I wasn't in the mindset of like, who do we want if Joe Judge gets fired? I was kind of still in the mindset of we were keeping him.
Yeah.
And now it's like I got to do my homework. And some of these names that I'm seeing, I'm like, nobody's like really jumping out at me.
You're kind of like, for sure. I think some of like the front runners, like I've seen so far, are Brian Flores, obviously. I mean, he's a great coach. Like I think I would like to see that. What the Giants are going to go after, though, they're going to go after an offensive-minded coach. They're never going to go.
Give me Eric Bieniemy.
That's fine. I would go after Eric Bieniemy too. The fact that he is not a head coach is mind-boggling to me. I really think. But you're right. Like even like some of the names that are being thrown out there, whether they're not special team, but whether they're coordinators, things like that. Like I'm looking at a lot of these names and I'm like, I don't know. So I 100% agree with you. And I guess I probably should have got myself ready for this as well. But I think with the Giants, you can go and cry and say that, Joe Judge should have been fired. Everyone's so happy. Yeah. Giants Twitter is blowing up. Everyone's so happy. But like, honestly, like, are we attractive to come to right now? I don't know. You're recycling another head coach. I would be nervous to come to this franchise, to be honest, because it's been a recycle. And then the last time that we had a really decent head coach was Tom Coughlin, and you threw him in the fucking garbage can. So a little questionable for that. And then like, also, too, like it just puts us in a hard position with a GM and a head coach because, like you said, things are going to start happening fast. So are we going to pull the trigger too quickly on maybe both of these positions. And
well, all of these head coaches and vice versa with the GMs, they're all going to want to know, who is it that I'm going to be working with? Who are you going to pair me with? And that is the huge piece of the puzzle.
I think that's why they ended up firing Coach Joe Judge. I think that's why they did.
My friend who's a big football fan, he was asking me yesterday how I felt about everything going with the Giants. And I was like, like it just looks really bad when we just recycle these head coaches this so many times in the last couple seasons. And he was like, I hear you and I get that. And he was like, but I think you're better off starting fresh and bringing in a new GM and a new head coach together rather than have one and then bring someone else in. And I was like, you know what? You're making me feel better about it. I get what you're saying. So
we're just like in this crunch time right now because we're not in the playoffs. So our mindset could be fully on the draft, and we can't be fully in the draft until we have a general manager in place. Right. There's definitely personnel within the Giants organization that can have their minds there. We obviously do have what's his face, who is our assistant general manager. He didn't get fired. He's staying. Kyle Abrams, is that his name? Yeah.
Kevin Abrams.
Kevin, sorry, not Kyle, Kevin. It was a K. I was there. Caitlin Abrams. Basic, yeah. So like you have people in there that can do the work that they have to do to study, but like the general manager makes these decisions. So we're kind of actually now a couple steps behind when we're actually should be a couple steps ahead. So that's just where my thought is on that.
We'll see what happens. There's no doubt in my mind that this time next week when we're on the show, we're going to be announcing probably at least one new head coach, if not several. So we'll keep you guys posted. Check our Instagram pages because we stay on top of that. We post it pretty quickly when we see breaking stuff happen. So
the Insta, the Twitter, just get on there. We got you guys.
So on Monday, I know sensitive subject for Caitlin, but we do have to talk about the national championship game.
Do we though?
Number 3, Georgia beat number 1 Alabama 33-18 to win their first national championship since 1980. Big storyline here, of course, was the former walk-on Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett. What a quarterback name. He was named the offensive player of the game after throwing 2 really big fourth quarter touchdowns to bring Georgia back from an 18-13 deficit. It was honestly like, I know that final score of 33-18 doesn't sound close, but this was like a deadlock pretty much all the way through. And it also wasn't that high. It was just field goals for a very long time. I was like, these teams are looking like the New York Field Goal Giants.
They were.
But Georgia's defense, hats off to them. They came up big. They had 4 sacks in the game, a late pick 6 to seal the victory. And of course, as we all remember, Georgia had previously lost to Alabama 41-24 in the SEC championship game. So that one was not close. And, people were like, definitely Georgia was a big, big underdog in this one. So it was a really great game as somebody who doesn't watch college football or have a horse in the race. I just said to myself, okay, I'm going to throw the game on like when it's close. And I really watched the majority of it because it truly was dead even up until the last couple minutes of the game. So I enjoyed watching it from a football stance. But Kate, I know it was a tough one, but listen, Alabama's going to be back there next year. After year after year. So.
I know. Well, listen, hey, like 2 years ago we had a down year, so don't worry, they happen. Listen, I just all props and thank you to Alabama for another great season of being a fan. It's definitely not the outcome I was expecting Monday night. I didn't expect to blow Georgia out like we did in the SEC championship, but I wouldn't even call it a blowout. I didn't expect that big of a lead. I just didn't expect to lose, to be honest. I know that's like a statement of an Alabama fan.
No, I actually expected a blowout, to be honest with you.
I did not.
So I was opposite with you.
It just proves, though, for every college football team, every NFL team out there, field goals do not win games. Defense wins championships. I know I'm speaking all like ironic terms, but they are like this. It is true. Like this is football talk, but it's real. Defense truly does win championships. Field goals, you got to score 6 points. You can't score 3. Clock management is huge as well. Georgia kicked our ass in the fourth quarter. I saw it. Everyone saw it. Nick Saban said that to, Kirby Smart at the end. That's what you did. That's what happened. But just props to Alabama for a phenomenal season. Props to Georgia for coming out and, putting up a really tough fight, coming out and actually, coming out on top at the end. And listen, it's been a really long time for you guys. So if you want your one trophy, here it is, but you're not getting it next year. So that's all I have to say about that. But yeah, definitely. It's I think that like we're in a situation with the Giants where it's a lot of frustration and like we're not in a position to where we can get kind of emotional about things. But with Bama, like they've been, very good for a very long time. So like when these situations do happen, like I definitely get emotional about it because we've gone so far, like we've done everything. Bryce Young has proved himself to be a phenomenal stand-up person, a phenomenal player on the field. He wins the Heisman. You want everything for these players.
Yeah.
You want everything as a fan. So I am finding myself emotional and it kind of sucks because I haven't felt that way, about the Giants in a long time, putting aside like Eli Manning retiring, like I'll never.
Well, you know what's funny though, like, and I can speak like it's a different sport, but I'm a Duke basketball fan. And the difference between me watching a Duke game versus me watching the Giants right now in the last couple seasons, Caitlin knows I used to not go out to bars to watch games because I would be screaming at the TV for the Giants. I'm dead quiet now. I don't make a sound during a Giants game. If you catch me watching a Duke game and they're losing or they lose the game, you're gonna hear me yelling.
Yeah.
And so when you have a team that you expect to win, that's when you're going to get like crazy over it. And it's sad that we don't get that way about Giants games anymore, but that's just the reality we're living in.
Yeah. It's definitely like the, the excitement and like the emotion, like behind it and like getting up and yelling, things like that. But it's also kind of like the tearful emotion. Like I'm talking right now, like I could not like cry, like sob, but like I get like that kind of like I have to step back and like
I have cried when Duke has lost in March Madness. So
I have to like pull myself back sometimes. So like I want to get back there like with the Giants, and it's not like I want to be like a big crybaby, but I love football. Like
other than complete and utter, just like we suck. I expected this.
Yeah, and like despair and like anger and like I want to punch all of you in the face or give me the pads. Like I want to go and protect Daniel Jones. Like screw you guys. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to like be like that anymore. So like let's just hope with everything that's happened over this week. And I gotta tell you too. I tweeted earlier, the Alabama lost on Monday. This whole thing with the Giants is happening yesterday. Like, it is Wednesday, people. I deserve a fucking award for this week. It's been a really tough week for me. And, like, it's not like we can be happy that Gettleman and Judge are gone, but we still are, as a Giants fan base, are still scrambling for something. So it's a mess. Like, it is a mess. It's a tough week for me. So like, I'm telling you, like, I need to just like right away to Friday. Like I need to get there.
Yeah.
That's everything. It was just on the topic of emotions. It's been emotional. But okay. So obviously we had definitely a lot of stuff to go over there, but we did end the regular season of the NFL this past weekend. Where did the season go? I could not tell you. I think it just right by. Not only did 2021 fly by, but this NFL season just right out the door. Don't even know where it went. Literally feel like Katie and I were just talking about week one last week, to be honest. But we are going to give you our week 18 thoughts here. So, again, a lot happened. So Kansas City is the fifth team in NFL history to win 12 plus games in 4 straight seasons. And they beat Denver 28-24. So that is, that's huge. It's only in NFL history, five team, the fifth team to do it. So definitely from a Kansas City team too that had their ups and downs this season. So team I wouldn't want to face in the playoffs, but they're there. So we definitely have a lot to see this weekend. Tennessee clinched the number 1 seed with a 28-25 win over Houston. Calling it close to clinch that number 1 over a really bad Houston Texans. Yeah. So a lot of teams this past weekend really calling it close. A lot of teams just dropping it. We'll get to that in a second. Pittsburgh's linebacker, TJ Watt, tied Michael Strahan's single season sack record, 22.5 in their 16-13 win over Baltimore. Katie and I spoke about this last week. Obviously, there's an extra game in the season. We spoke about it, but then also too, TJ was hurt this year, so people brought that aspect up to it. So technically, like, he did get it in the same amount of time. It's just they're tied, so let's keep it at that.
I can like live at this point. I can live with it. I can live with the tie. I can't live with someone beating it.
Yeah, so let's just zen it out, keep it with the tie. Yeah. And if anything happens next year.
And it's a player that like I have a lot of respect for. So like
absolutely. That's the hardest thing too.
Sometimes there's players who just have kind of a fluke year and they end up racking up all these sacks, but they don't do it again the next year. Like this is someone who's been consistent and is one of the best defensive players.
If someone can do it, he can do it.
I'm okay with it being him.
Right. Yeah. Right. But I still don't want it to be. Pittsburgh, so their win and a Las Vegas win actually put them in the playoffs. So I know Pittsburgh was sweating with the Raiders over the Chargers because if that game ended in a tie, they were out of the playoffs. Katie, I gotta tell you, like
the world is very angry about that one.
Well, that is the thing. So we're gonna talk about it, but like I stayed up, and we know me, I don't stay up for games. But I said to myself, if I miss out on NFL history right now, I will kill myself. And then I had to stay up the next night for the Alabama game. So I got last night. I went to bed at like 8:00 last night. Like I couldn't do it 2 nights in a row past midnight. I don't do that, people. Not even on the weekend.
No.
That's not my thing. I'm a grandmother. So San Francisco also clinched a playoff berth. We know Katie's husband's very happy about that with a 27-24 overtime win against the Rams. So we saw a lot of close games this weekend, obviously games going into overtime as well.
That one was great with everything.
What a game.
Oh my God.
What a game. Yeah. That is, I tweeted out like every playoff game better be like that. Maybe not, we don't have to go into overtime every playoff game. Like, don't make me sweat so much. But that game, wow. It was great. It was picture perfect. Like, picture perfect. Loved it. Every second of it. We have both teams in the playoffs. So let's see some good games here. So Arizona has lost 4 of their 5 game after starting the season 10-2 and a 38-30 loss to Seattle. So Arizona's in the playoffs, obviously, but Seattle had a lot of fun that game. So that win, like in my opinion, like you saw Pete Carroll on the sideline, you saw, Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett, like that connection was on fire. Like it was a fun win for them.
Well, they said they were Seattle before like the game. They were like, Pete Carroll was all about like, we're treating this as our Super Bowl. And honestly, like you're facing a division rival. You kind of want to spoil things for them. This Arizona team was like almost a lock for the number 1 seed here. And now they don't even win their division. Right. The Rams are the winners of the NFC West. And honestly, like as much as I think Arizona is a good team, losing 4 of their last 5 is not a really good look heading into the postseason. So I have a lot of question marks about this team right now.
Absolutely. All righty. And sorry, I lost my place for what I was going to read. Miami wide receiver Jalen Waddle broke the record for most receptions by a rookie, 104. So big props to him for sure. So I know a lot of, discussion like came from, Bama's game on Monday with, 2 of their wide receivers, getting hurt and kind of what that meant for them, as they go out and they have like Adam Schefter tweeting that they're going to come back to full capacity, like after they get surgery and things like that. But college players have to do that now to make sure that NFL teams are watching and it doesn't impact their draft. And Waddle is a huge example of that. He got hurt prior to going into the draft. Like he got hurt in his senior year at Bama, and it was a big injury. And there was a lot of question marks around him. And look what he's done this season. So I think a lot of like, he's injury prone. He's too skinny. He can't, deal with an injury well. Like, I think that like narrative, like for the NFL, like we need to like pump the brakes a little bit with guys coming from college into the NFL, like give them a time, like, because injuries happen. If you played a sport at any time in your life, you got hurt some way, somehow. So yeah. I just love the fact that Waddle was able to do that and kind of shut people up.
It's a huge record, honestly. Hats off to him.
Absolutely. Buffalo clinched the NFC East with a 27-10 win over the New York Jets. This game could have ended in, moving to what we were just talking about, the game that could have ended a tie and sent both teams to the playoffs. The Las Vegas Raiders beat the Los Angeles Chargers 35-32 in overtime to send them to the postseason and got the Chargers out. There was so much speculation at the end of the game as to why the Chargers called a timeout. You see at the end of the game, Derek Carr talking to, I'm blanking on the guy's name on the Chargers, but basically saying like, you guys were going to kneel. And they were like, yeah, like, why'd you call a timeout? And then that just kind of screwed. So it was like, it could have ended in a tie.
I think if anything we take away from this game, I wish the NFL would take away from this game, is I don't think games should be able to end in a tie. I just don't.
I know.
So, like, look at this scenario that almost happened. We almost had two teams just like, go into overtime, go to the coin toss and like call truce and be like, let's just end this in a tie. Like, and just screw over the Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger's end to his career. So I don't like that. I don't like that we were put in that position. I was rooting for a tie, but second, if I wasn't going to get the tie, I was rooting for the Chargers to win that game. I really want to see Justin Herbert in the playoffs. I have so much respect for him and for that team. And I was very disappointed that they didn't make it.
But why are you making us root for a tie too? Like, I hate the NFL for that.
I said, I don't want to be put in that position in the first place.
No, but what a
and we're not even fans of the Raiders, the Chargers, or the Steelers. And I was still annoyed to be put in that position. I can't imagine being a fan of one of those three teams and dealing with that.
No, and like I said, like I stayed up and it was overtime. Like there was a point, like when it went to overtime, I was like, I don't think I could do overtime. And then it was about like 1 minute into overtime. And I was like, I'm staying away. I am not going to bed, but what a world it would have been in if that game tied.
Yeah.
I just kind of I picture what would have happened.
Woulda, shoulda, coulda,
fire.
All the questions.
End of the world. Fire.
I want to go into these wild card weekend picks though, because
they're good.
This is when it gets really spicy doing the playoff picks. And of course we don't do upset picks or lock picks for the playoffs. We just do straight up what we think. We've got 6 games slated for this weekend, and I'm super intrigued to see who you have. Why don't you kick it off first and tell us who you are taking in this first round of the playoffs?
Well, that's how I get nervous, because I look at my list and I think they're pretty standard, but I could actually go back into this list and change my mind. And that's I feel like I probably have like a good popular list here, but I definitely could go in and change. So let's go ahead and kick it off with our Saturday matchups. I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals and the Buffalo Bills on Saturday. Okay. And for Sunday, I'm taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Kansas City Chiefs. And to wrap wild card weekend up, this is the first time they're ever playing on a Monday night, which is wild and crazy. I don't understand why, but people understand. We have a playoff game on Monday, people. I am taking the Los Angeles Rams over the Arizona Cardinals.
So we have 5 out of the 6.
Okay, so 1 is different. That's good. Yeah.
And to be honest with you, Kate, I don't know if you realize that you did this.
Oh no, what did I do?
The lower seed to win every game. So in my mind, you did. Yes, you did. Yeah. Because I did, except for 1 game. And the reason I did that is because I think as much as it seems standard, like, okay, this is like whatever, it's very difficult for it to happen where every lower seed team wins. So I was
I picked the lower seed team in every game?
Yes.
But how? I thought
Cincinnati, which is a 4 over 5.
No, I know that. I thought Oh, never mind. You know me with the lower and the, never mind. Ignore me.
You picked the better team.
Yes.
And I said the better number.
We know I get confused with that. Ignore me. I was very confused.
So what I'm saying is though, like I almost did the same thing as you, right? But I feel like it's very difficult to have all of the lower seeds win. Like it's rare that it happens. As much as it like should happen, it's rare that it does. So I did throw in a team that would technically, I guess, be an upset.
Well, I would say there's 3 games that I could reverse now, confidently reverse, but
I'm throwing the wrench into the mix.
All right, I'm
taking Cincinnati. I'm taking Buffalo. I'm taking Tampa Bay. My wrench is the 49ers over the Dallas Cowboys.
Did your husband make you pick that?
He did not. That was my most confident that I felt taking a higher seed to beat a lower seed.
It's going to be a good game. I will. And that's one of my 3 I would switch.
And we're playing a game later when we're breaking these games down. We'll explain why definitely I'm taking the 49ers in that one. I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs and I am taking the Rams. So the only difference we have is you taking the Cowboys and me taking the Niners.
Listen, I hope the Niners win.
I know, right? Big time 49ers and Buccaneers fans this week.
Huge Niners and Bucs fans. Like, let's go. Jimmy Garoppolo. We got Tom Brady. Like, let's go.
Let's go, baby.
That is everything we need in the world. Like, literally picture perfect. Oh my God. But yeah, so as Katie said, we have a really, really fun wild card weekend game that we're going to play in a little bit, but we're going to take
a little spoiler alert, by the way. In that game, we're going to give score predictions. So
so
I know for people who bet and they bet like over unders and everything like that, this is the first time where we're going to give you scores. So you definitely want to stay with us.
Yeah. So if you actually want to use us for betting purposes, you actually now can. So asterisks, you actually now can use us for betting. But let's bump to Housewives in the meantime. And we're going to talk about 2 big stories here. So one of them, listen, it was maybe not surprising with how her season 2 is going on the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, but Mary Crosby has ditched out on the season 2 reunion, which they had just started filming. And we don't know about season 3. Her status might be up in the air. So last Thursday, the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City taped their season 2 reunion, and Mary Crosby was not there. Her return for season 3 is now up in the air. Many believe she skipped to avoid facing the controversy from the season, which has been a lot. Racist comments, rumors that she's running a cult, even now rumors online that she's having an affair with 1 person, 2 person, who cares? All the people. Obviously Andy Cohen is Housewives executive producer. He once said that Adrienne Malouf's absence in the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion ended her time with the franchise, which is a rule he put into place after Real Housewives of New Jersey star Jacqueline the Rita skipped the season 3 reunion last minute in 2011. So the only other housewives to skip a reunion was Lisa Vanderpump, but she announced herself that she was leaving the show before the reunion filming. So
she had no repercussions the way like some other women could possibly. Like if you want to come back, don't skip this reunion.
You cannot skip the reunion. Yeah. So, and that's like, it's so interesting. And I think a lot of like Bravo fans don't realize that Andy put that into place. Like that was a rule. But in those 2 instances, like they were much needed. You can't just be fed up and not show up. You can show up and storm off stage, not things like you could do all of that, but you just have to come. Like that's it. So a source has said that the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City cast isn't being paid much and that Mary was just making $6,000 per episode. Listen, B, I'd take that much money, meaning she'll miss out on $18,000 for a 3-part reunion. So that to me is interesting because a lot of the rumors that we're hearing now, aside from like the cult thing, like on this episode, this season, and now kind of like the affair rumors, some of the rumors too are that like her church is completely under and she has no money. So she would technically need to come back to the show, but also
you see the shoes that woman buys, the clothes. I don't know.
She just gives away Louboutins for fun. Like, I didn't like these. Like, okay, like whatever.
Yeah,
so a lot going on there. But listen, if she doesn't come back, good riddance. I know we posted on our show, our Instagram, like today, that like it's she might not come back.
I'm happy, but I did want her to get absolutely torched on the reunion.
I know.
Hold accountable for all her bullshit.
That's what pisses me off too, to be honest.
Run away, scared little girl. Like, don't face what you don't. She doesn't want to face the music.
It just shows you are guilty. And the thing is, like, I know we don't like Jen Shaw, and like she could very much be guilty, but like she could have had what happened to her this season and then just quit the show. And like,
but also like, and then like look at the fact, like in New York, how Ramona, like, if they were going to do a reunion, Ramona like didn't want to do it because she didn't want to be confronted about possibly like racist questions. So this is something that they've been dealing with. But yeah, obviously huge consequences if you skip it. But I guess Mary doesn't give a rat's egg.
I don't give a whoop.
If she really like, if she's not under, if she's good money wise and she's just buying those, $18K doesn't mean anything to her. So
I will take her 18. So Andy Cohen, if you are listening, I don't live in Salt Lake, but I could zoom in if you guys need me to. I will take $18,000. Thank you very much.
Well, speaking of Andy, he's also involved in our second story. I thought that this was really interesting this past week. On Watch What Happens Live and on Instagram, Andy was asked to reveal his top 5 favorite housewife moms and also his favorite housewife's husband. So we're going to kind of go through the list. Maybe Caitlin and I will say our favorite mom, our favorite housewife's hubby. I thought it was very interesting. Andy's mom list in order. He ranks them in order. At number 5 coming in, we have New Jersey's Marge Sr. Number 4, we have Roni's Dale Mortimer, Tinsley's mom. Number 3, Dallas's Mama D. Number 2, we have Atlanta's Mama Joyce. And at number 1, we have I love how they're all mama. 1, we have Miami's Mama Elsa. So definitely a lot of gems on that list. Some of the moms definitely play a bigger role than some of the others. Some of them we don't even see, obviously.
Right.
But some are like those little side characters, just the way the husbands are. And some of them are just as important as, you know, the husbands, as in being involved with the wives and everything like that. And then when a fan asked on Instagram who Andy's favorite housewife's husband of all time is, he said, I don't have a favorite, but I think we can all agree this man is a Hall of Famer. And then he posted a picture of Joe Gorga. So I feel like Joe and Andy do have like kind of a close little romance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kate, do you have a favorite mom? I don't know if I have a favorite mom. I could probably say who my favorite is from Andy's list. I do have a favorite husband, but Kate, go ahead.
I don't think I have a favorite mom, to be honest.
I think my favorite mom from that list is I did always enjoy Tinsley's scenes with her mom, Dale. I thought
Dale is good.
Funny because she was so like prim and proper. And then you had like Sonia Morgan in the mix, who it's like, it was funny to watch. It was comical.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I don't like Marge Sr., to be honest.
Maybe I don't like her or dislike her.
She doesn't talk. She doesn't do anything.
Yeah, she doesn't have much to
her. Biggest storyline was when she got plastic surgery as like an 80-year-old woman. Like, that's dangerous, people. Like, that is dangerous. Like, why are you getting a new face?
Like Dale actually had like very comical scenes.
She did. And like, she was funny. She had a personality. She spoke to Tinsley when Tinsley was going through a lot of shit. Like, she's got great advice.
She would do the interviews. So they would put on the interviews.
I thought she had great advice to her daughter. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, and like other things. So I'm not familiar with Miami's Mama Elsa. Sorry. I do know Mama Joyce and Mama D, though. I think they're great additions to the list. And they're, you know, Dallas isn't an OG, but if you're a Atlanta OG fan, you know, you do know Mama Joyce. So like, I just, it's like a decent list, but it's interesting because like, but I mean, husbands, we got a slew of husbands.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I just saw before the show, I think Kyle Richard and Mauricio are celebrating like one of their anniversaries. I love him. He is just so attractive.
Yeah.
Like I just like attractiveness wise, like he's my favorite. Like, he's so hot. Like I don't know how, and I think they're like 60 years. Like I don't know how, they're like 50. Like, I don't know how you're so hot, to be honest. But then like I love them together. Like I love him and Kyle. Like I sincerely, as a couple, Kyle as a person pisses me off, but like I like them as a couple. But our Jersey men, like those are our guys. Like the husbands deserve their own series. Like they could do the Real Husbands of New Jersey. Like they really could.
So my second place goes to Bill Aiden because
I love Bill.
Absolutely love him. And I'm giving the edge to number one just because of longevity and how they've been around longer. So like I have to give them priority. Number one for me is Frank Catania. Like I love him. He is a gem. And I would love to meet him. Like if we're gonna run into people in New Jersey, that's who I want to run into.
I would like leap into his arms. I feel like
love him, and I feel like he would embrace fans. So like I'm giving it to him.
Well, they went to that Morristown bar one time. That's literally like on Speedwell Ave, like the main street, or just South Street, not Speedwell. Speedwell is where I live. Like on South Street. Like we just have to go and like post up. Like, you guys coming back? What do you do?
Yeah.
But I know. It's definitely, the husbands are hard to pick for sure, but that's a good thing. There's so many of them.
Yes,
it's perfect.
Yes,
but definitely the mom list was a little weird. They should do siblings and children next.
I love me some Brooks Marks. I recently said to Caitlin, we have not had enough of Brooks on season 2 of Salt Lake City. We need more of him. The most recent episode, we got a little bit of Brooks, and that made me happy, but we need more.
More. Alrighty, so with saying more, let's go ahead and get into our game for the evening. We are playing Will Things Get Wild this weekend as we enter Wildcard Weekend. So we played this game last year for you guys. We are heading
throughout the playoffs, so.
Yes, of course. So as we head into the NFL playoffs with Wildcard Weekend, we are taking a look at the games for this weekend and are filling in the blank for some predictions. So I'll tell you guys the predictions for each scenario. I'll tell you each scenario, and then we'll go into each game. So we're asking, each team will win if they do this: quarterback with the most passing yards, running back with the most passing yards, rushing,
running back with the most passing.
Well, in this day and age, who knows? Anything could happen. Running back with the most rushing yards, wide receiver with the most receiving yards, the MVP of the game, and the final score of the game. So this is what we spoke about earlier, to where we tell you all the time, don't use us for betting. But if you're looking at the over-under, like Katie said, maybe look at our score predictions. I don't know. We still might tell you don't take our advice.
Well, blame us if we screw you over, but if we help you, tell us about it.
Yeah, seriously, don't go to like Vegas and literally put all your money on like, oh, Katie and Caitlin said this. Like, don't do that, but do whatever you want.
Yeah.
All righty, so let's start with our Saturday game. So our first matchup is the number 4 Cincinnati Bengals versus the number 5 Las Vegas Raiders. We are going to go through each scenario here. So Katie, the Bengals will win if.
So the Bengals will win, and I know this will sound bizarre, but the Bengals will win if the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase connection just plays an average game. Because and it sounds weird, but in week 11, these teams played, and the Bengals won 32-13. And in that win, Burrow only had 148 passing yards, and Jamar Chase only had 32 receiving yards. They barely did anything in that game, and they killed the Raiders. Right. So if they just have an average game, they should win this, I think. So I know that sounds weird, but they just have to have an average game. They don't have to do that much.
Well, I didn't put average, but what I put was their average. I literally put Burrow and Chase.
Yeah.
Big, I wrote their big stats, but actually Joe Burrow actually has to have some big stats too, because if they attempt to shut down the running game from Jamar, or excuse me, the receiving game, Joe Burrow actually takes it a decent amount, runs it himself. They'll have to shut that as well. So
Okay.
All right. So the Raiders will win if
the Raiders will win if Derek Carr plays a perfect game. So in that week 11 game when they played each other, Carr had 2 costly turnovers, and he also had only 215 passing yards, which I think we all know is very low for Derek Carr. I forget where he finished as far as passing yards this year, but I believe he was top 5. And 215 is nothing for him. So we need, in order for the Raiders to win, it needs to be a big game from Derek Carr, like 300 plus yards, 2-3 touchdowns. It's going to be on him, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think their offense has to do a lot, but to win the game, they have to listen. Their defense has to cover Chase. Like, literally, you're not leaving his side. It's like double, triple coverage on Jamar Chase. And like I said before, Joe Burrow, if that happens, he needs to start running the ball, go to Mixon, run the ball. The Raiders have to stop the run too. So they actually like the defensive mode, like that's what they need to be in. So. Alrighty, so the quarterback with the most passing yards will be
Joe Burrow.
I mean, what are you going to argue, people? What are you going to argue?
Well, like I said, like he is used to racking up a lot of yards.
Right.
It could potentially be him.
Right.
But I am going with Burrow.
Alrighty, the running back with the most rushing yards will be.
I said Joe Mixon
as did I, because he's what at like 1,200 for the year, I think.
1,200.
Yeah,
he's
around that.
I believe he's finished top 5 in rushing.
And I'm actually a little, and maybe I think Josh Jacobs may have missed a game or two. Josh Jacobs is a very good running back. He
can be an answer for this as well.
He could be, but he was lower, like significantly lower than Joe Mixon. Taking nothing away from Joe Mixon, of course, but I just was a little shocked that he was like that much lower than him. But again, he might have missed a game or two. But yeah, so. All right. The wide receiver with the most receiving yards will be.
All eyes on Jamar Chase.
It is.
So honestly, I'm going T. Higgins because T. Higgins has quietly had a phenomenal year for the Bengals that has been overshadowed by Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is going to see a lot of tight coverage. It's going to be T. Higgins.
So I'm going with Jamar Chase on this one because it is tight coverage. And I just said that the Raiders are going to win if they put tight coverage on him. He can get out of that tight coverage and he can make catches that Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, that LSU connection is wild. And the fact that they were able to take that, I know we said this on the episode a week or two ago, the fact that they've been able to translate that from college to the NFL is just, it's a beautiful thing. It really is. I wish we had it. Must be nice. So the MVP of the game will be.
This might surprise you guys. I'm not going with Joe Burrow. I'm not going with Jamar Chase. Not going with T. Higgins. Forecast is showing right now that it's supposed to snow in this game. And that can mean a lot of handing the ball off to a really great running back. I'm going with Joe Mixon.
I do love that pick. I'm just going to be the standard here and go with Joe Burrow. And that's fine with me. The final score of the game will be.
I'm going to go 27-20 Cincinnati.
All righty. I am going with 27-16 Cincinnati.
We're close.
We are very close. All righty. Let's go with our second matchup. We have the number 3 Buffalo Bills versus the number 6 New England Patriots. The Bills will win if.
The Bills will win if the defense remains dominant. They've surrendered the fewest yards and the fewest points per game this season. So if they're shutting out Mac Jones in that offense, game over.
So I wish that these were reversed, the Patriots first and then the Bills, but you'll see what I mean by that in a second. So I put the Bills will win if they stop the run against the Patriots because people, it is a matchup again. It is supposed to be 0 degrees in Buffalo this weekend. And if you remember the matchup last time, snowy, windy, freezing. Bill Belichick ran the ball. They did not. Mac Jones threw it once, and that was their run game, and they beat the Bills on that. So if the Bills can actually step up this time, stop that run, and also do offensive-minded things as well, they will win. So with that being said, like I wanted to reverse these, the Patriots will win if.
I said the Patriots will win if, a defensive mastermind like Bill Belichick can figure out the equation to stop that Bills offense. I know that sounds so general and so vague, but like,
it's not though.
He is a defensive genius. So if anybody's going to be able to try and stop a high-powered offense like Buffalo's, it's going to be Bill Belichick. He just has to figure out how to do it.
So why I wanted them to be reversed, because it's going to be 0 degrees again in Buffalo in a very cold, not wanted game. If the Patriots can actually pull off that run game that they did the last time, if they're able to successfully do that again, they have this in the bag, in my opinion.
Yep.
Alrighty, the quarterback with the most passing yards will be?
I went with Josh Allen.
So did I. He's just a more natural of a passer, in my opinion. So the running back with the most rushing yards will be?
I went with Josh Allen. So this is a fun fact, and it will be hard for him to pull off 3 for 3. But these two teams played twice this year. Obviously, they're in the same division. And New England won 14-10 in week 13. Buffalo won 33-21 in week 16. Josh Allen was the leading rusher in both of those games.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he goes 3 for 3. Josh Allen.
I love that it's a fun fact. And I know we had mentioned this earlier in the season, probably like week 3 or week 4, where quarterbacks, even guys like Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold, they were like the leading rushers on their team. There was even a point where Daniel Jones was the leading rusher, receiver. He was everything on the New York Giants. It was an interesting year for quarterbacks. And as Katie and I were prepping for this game, I just got to tell you guys, look at all of these teams. When you look at your leading rushers and receivers, these quarterbacks and all of these teams are like in the top 3, top 2, some of them. So it's not, I love that it's an interesting fact, and it is so doable for Josh Allen. So let's see if it's 3 for 3.
And isn't that funny? Because like you mentioned that game where New England didn't throw the ball. You would think one of their running backs would have rushed for more yards than Josh Allen in that game, but he was the leading rusher.
Absolutely. So I ended up going with Damian Harris on this one because I do think the Patriots are going to take that same approach. So they're not going to be launching it. They're going to be handing it off. And listen, maybe Mac Jones will take a couple steps if he wants to, but could be Damian Harris on that one. So the wide receiver with the most receiving yards will be?
Steph Diggs.
You look at, I mean, I think the leading receiver on the Patriots is Jacoby Myers. Yeah.
If you look at both of these teams, I don't think there's any other receivers that like get close to the level of Steph Diggs as a player. So,
yeah, well, that's the thing with the Patriots. I got to give props to the Patriots for their offense.
They don't have a lot of weapons, but they won the game. So,
and they put points on the board. It's not like they're winning games like by, they're putting up a
50-point game the other week.
I know. So it's good for them. So the MVP of the game will be?
I mean, if he's going to be my leading passer and rusher, I have to give it to Josh Allen.
I'm going with Josh Allen as well. And the final score of the game will be?
I'm going 24-17 Buffalo.
All right. I am going 17-14 Buffalo.
All right. So we're both like on the lower side of things. So.
All righty. So far, so good. Let's get into our Sunday games. We have number 2 Tampa Bay versus the number 7 Philadelphia Eagles. The Buccaneers will win if...
The Buccaneers are going to win if their defense completely eliminates Philadelphia's run game.
I said the same exact thing.
And they can do it. They've got the third best run defense in the league. Jalen Hurts is obviously banged up a little bit. If you eliminate that run game and force Jalen Hurts to win that game on his own, no offense, I know he's your boy, it's not going to happen. So.
My boy. Well, isn't it just like a shame that half my boys now play for the Eagles?
It's freaking terrible.
It's like, come on. Like,
it's horrible.
I look at the football gods and I'm like, listen, the Giants have been struggling for a while. Thank you for Alabama. But like, what do you give me in return? All of my Bama boys going to the Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, I don't deserve this shit. Like, I don't. So yeah. So I totally get that for sure. I wrote the same exact thing down. Like, they got to just eliminate the run.
Number 1 key to the game. Easy.
And the Eagles over the past couple of weeks have really established their run. And it's a good running offense. You just got to completely knock it out of the game. They have nowhere to go. Look like the Giants run game this season. That's what you need to do. So, and the Eagles will win.
I know this isn't too specific, but the Eagles are going to win if their defense plays a perfect game.
Right.
They have and I'm saying it because they have a decent defense. They're kind of like middle of the pack for their run defense and their pass defense. They're not a bad defense. They have to be perfect though.
Right.
And that's I think it's going to be if Philly can pull off this upset, it's going to be through the defense.
So while I definitely agree with you on that, like I'm keeping an offensive mind. Like you got to pull a passing game out of your pocket. Like you got Devontae Smith. You know, you got Goddard in the mix as your tight end. Like you got listen, like Jalen, like as much as he tries to take it sometimes himself and run it, like you just said, like you got to launch it if you can against this Tampa Bay defense. So I'm going to keep it offensive mind here. You got this, a passing game. You got to find it. You got to find it some way, somehow, and you got to keep it moving throughout the game.
Yep.
All right. The quarterback with the most passing yards will be
Tom Brady.
That's what I said. Obviously. Listen, it goes back to Jalen Hurts. He can throw it. You've seen the connection with him and Devontae Smith. He's a quarterback though, who will, try to punch it if he has to. He'll try to run it if he has to. Not successful all the time. So he's not going to get anything there, but he is definitely one that will definitely try that. But Tom Brady's better at just
Tom Brady
is tossing it beautifully.
Is potentially the MVP of the regular season. So it's not just the fact that Jalen Hurts likes to run it. It's also the fact that Tom Brady is having an MVP level season, as he normally does.
Alrighty. So then we have the running back with the most rushing yards.
Leonard Fournette.
So the interesting thing about both Tampa and the Eagles right now. So you've got Leonard Fournette and you've got Miles Sanders. They are both questionable for this weekend. They're both injured. Leonard Fournette, I think, is like a little bit more serious. I think they're both going to play because, listen, it's the playoffs. Like, you're going to put them in. So I actually gave the slighter edge to Miles Sanders, though, because I think that the optimism is a little bit more there. Not just playing wise. Again, like it's the playoffs. I think they're going to push people if they have to, which, in hindsight kind of sucks that the NFL is pushing people to play if they're hurt. But I think the optimism, and I'll talk about in the other games that we'll get to. I actually bring this up a couple more times. So I'm going to go with Miles Sanders on this one.
Okay.
The wide receiver with the most receiving yards will be.
So this is funny. Obviously, I'm taking Tom Brady as most passing yards. I'm taking the Bucs to win. But I think the fact that Tom Brady has so many weapons, it's like there's not going to be just one guy that gets it all. Like the yards are going to be dispersed. So I'm actually going with Devontae Smith on this.
I'm going with Devontae Smith too. But I think that Tom Brady's kind of like scaling back a little bit with the weapons. We obviously lost Antonio Brown to
but still,
the drama
think Tampa Bay has more than what Philly has.
How wild is it though that now the Bucs have Le'Veon Bell? What if he blows up this weekend? That would just crack me up. That Antonio Brown left in that fashion. They bring on Le'Veon Bell. That would crack me up. It's a blast from the past for both of them for sure. Yeah. All right, the MVP of the game will be
Tom Brady.
All right, so I'm actually taking an interesting twist on this as well because I think that, obviously, as you said before, the Buccaneers defense is phenomenal, and I need them to stop the run game here. I'm going with outside linebacker Shaquille Barrett on this one.
I like that. I thought about him.
So 10 sacks on the season, 1 interception. Like, come on, like bring it in, like bring Jalen Hurts down if you can. Try to get that interception up, make that interception a pick 6 if you can. And if the defense really comes out and he's a huge part and he leads the team like he has already, I got to give it up to him.
All right.
Alrighty, the final score of the game will be
24-13 Tampa Bay.
All right, so I went a little higher than you. So
I went low.
27-20 Tampa.
Okay. All right.
All righty. So let's go with number 3, Dallas versus number 6, San Francisco. So the Cowboys will win if.
Okay, so this is obviously my upset pick of this weekend, and there is a huge reason why. The Cowboys will win if they can figure out a way to stop the run. Since week 9, Dallas has allowed 130 rush yards per game. If that's the case, you don't want to play this Niners team. I think the Niners are going to run it all over them this weekend. And that would also tie into the key to the game for the Niners is just like let your running game go wild. But Dallas needs to stop that, honestly. So that's the huge key to the game for that team.
So I'm going with a twofold here. So listen, so Trayvon Diggs needs to be on his game. He is leading the league in interceptions this year. But he also, his interceptions need to be pick sixes. So at least 1 or 2 of them has to turn into a pick six. He's got to score points for Dallas. And Dallas too, also time of possession. We saw the Niners last week come into overtime and win the game. So they're taking advantage of the clock whenever they can. If another team fails to eat up the clock when they're winning, the Niners will come in and they will take that and they will use it to their advantage. So Dallas fully needs to take advantage of time of possession every moment when they can on the field. So those are the twofolds here. The Niners will win if.
This is always the question mark surrounding this 49ers team constantly. And I'm not asking him to be an all-star. I'm just saying that Jimmy G has to manage the game well. He has to be a game manager. Don't lose the game for your team. Don't turn the ball over. Just play an average game manager type game and you will be good to go. Like I said, let your running game run all over Dallas.
Yeah. So they need to shut down both passing and rushing, receiving and rushing from a Dallas standpoint. You know, Dallas does exceed on both of those ends. So the Niners defense needs to show up here, but they also, in my opinion, from an offensive standpoint, they need to take an early lead in this game and they need to hold that lead. I don't like 49ers coming from behind. They've done it and they've done it successfully, but in the playoffs, I do think that they need to hold a lead within each game here. So I'd like them to come out and take an early lead. All right, the quarterback with the most passing yards will be
Dak Prescott.
All righty. The running back with the most rushing yards will be
Elijah Mitchell.
I went with Zeke, but understood. The wide receiver with the most receiving yards will be
Deebo Samuel.
I went with Deebo as well. What a phenomenal player. I know Katie and I were texting, this past weekend with the games too. And it was, Katie texted me, what I would give to have a Deebo Samuel on our, and it's true. It's 100% true. He's a phenomenal player.
Yep.
Alrighty. The MVP of the game will be.
I think this player is going to have one of the biggest games of the weekend amongst all of the games that we're going to see and all the players and all the studs. Elijah Mitchell is going to have a huge game for the 49ers. He is my MVP.
Yeah, I like that pick. Going off Dallas winning, though, I do think it will be Dak Prescott.
Okay.
And then the final score of the game.
This is going to be a close one, but I am going 28-24 49ers.
It's a good one. I have a pretty close game as well. I'm going 35-27 Dallas.
Okay. All right.
Alrighty, we got 2 games left, people. So stick with us. Let's go with the number 2 Kansas City Chiefs and the number 7 Pittsburgh Steelers, who squeezed their way into the playoffs last minute. So the Chiefs will win this game if
the Chiefs will win the game if they could take advantage of Pittsburgh's poor run defense. They've got the worst run defense in the league. So like I said, you got Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. Like, he should have a good game. But if you're able to also take advantage and have just as good of a game running the ball on that horrible run defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers, that is a huge key to the game.
Listen, the Chiefs are known lately for the past couple of weeks to come out strong within like the first minute of the game, whether they're doing something on special teams where they're grabbing the ball or they're coming out on their kickoffs and scoring touchdowns within literally 30 to 2 minutes. That's my key to the game for them. They have to come out. They have to score on their first drive. They have to come in and take an early lead. I think that's easy for the Chiefs, but I think they need to do it in the playoffs. If they have a rough start, this weekend, I think, where it's like they just skim by. I don't see them making it past the second round, to be honest.
All right.
The Steelers will win if
TJ Watt and company pressured the crap out of Patrick Mahomes. So, interesting little fact. During Kansas City's 5 losses this season, 4 of them came in games where Mahomes threw at least 1 interception. So if you can get him off his rocker and you can get him to turn the ball over, which is obviously very rare for Patrick Mahomes, that is 100%. And because, that's the strong suit for Pittsburgh too, is that defense, and especially that pass rushing defense. So if you can rattle Patrick Mahomes, that's what needs to happen for Pittsburgh to have a shot.
Very similar to you. Mine's a little more detailed. TJ Watt needs to sack Patrick Mahomes over 3 times. And one of those sacks, it might be a communal sacks, has to be a fumble recovery by Pittsburgh. So
honestly, some Pittsburgh defensive touchdowns will definitely help. So
that is the key for the Steelers there. The quarterback with the most passing yards will be
Patrick Mahomes.
I'm going with Patrick Mahomes as well. The running back with the most rushing yards will be,
as bad as that Pittsburgh run defense is, so that Kansas City, running back should be able to rack up some yards. I'm still going with the best running back that's going to be on the field, and that's Najee Harris.
I love Najee. You all know that. But here's one of my asterisks. Like I had said earlier, he did not practice today. He is still technically questionable for this weekend. And he's one of the people actually where people almost seem nervous, scared that he might not play. So in that, I'm not going to take a chance here. So I'm going to go with Darrell.
I clearly did not read the injury report.
Yeah. So I'm going with Darrell Williams on the Kansas City Chiefs on this one. Because too, also Clyde Edwards-Helaire, while he is lower than Williams on the stat chart, he is also questionable. So just kind of, and I think he didn't play the last game or two. So I'm just trying to play it safe with this one, just from what the people are saying. The wide receiver with the most receiving yards will be.
Well, technically, now that I'm looking at this, it's not a wide receiver. It's a tight end. I'm going Travis Kelce.
Yeah, so I'm going to go Tyreek Hill on this one. I do like Travis Kelce, though, with getting that, because he does act very much so like a wide receiver in situation.
When these 2 teams played each other this regular season and Kansas City smacked Pittsburgh, Travis Kelce didn't even play in that game. Right. So this is like redemption time. Like, I didn't get you the first time. I'm coming now.
Well, that's what, too, I think in the Tampa Bay. So I love a lot of these games. I know a lot of them are divisional games, but a lot of them are redemption games. A lot of them already happened. The Eagles Tampa game, I don't think Gronk played in the first game. So
I think you're right.
Got that, but they're also obviously missing Antonio Brown. So and a couple other people are questionable. But so that's an interesting factor as well. Travis Kelce being the bigger factor, but definitely interesting things playing into every game this weekend. The MVP of the game will be.
Did you say your receiver? Most receiver?
Tyreek Hill.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
So the MVP of the game will be.
I'm going to go with Travis Kelce. I think he's going to have a monster game. He's kind of the other person I predict this weekend to have one of those huge stat lines.
Yeah, I think he will as well. I'm just going to go be basic here and go with Patrick Mahomes on this one.
All right. And
the final score of this game will be.
I think this is my most lopsided score.
I think so for me too. Yeah.
Also, Tampa Bay Phillies a little far out, but I'm going 31-17 Kansas City.
Oh, I was like, did we have the same one? Close. I am going 31-23 Kansas City. So,
all right.
All righty. And so wrapping it up with Monday night playoff football, people. I just keep reminding people it's a Monday night game. Don't get your hopes up for a Sunday night game or a whatever. You know what I mean? Number 4, the Los Angeles Rams versus number 5, the Arizona Cardinals. So the Rams will win if.
I'm going to keep it nice and simple. The Rams will win if Cooper Kupp does his usual Cooper Kupp thing.
Yeah. While it is simple, this was one of the things we had spoken about this earlier, where when we were prepping for this game, peeling back the layers and looking at both teams, looking at the season, I got more excited about this game. The Rams on paper are, wow, like you've got defense. It's a really good team. So I actually they need to be consistent offensively and defensively in this game. You cannot have a slip up defensively, nor could you have a slip up like Cooper Kupp not playing well on offense.
Doesn't happen all season, so.
I'm just making a point. Just saying. So yeah, they need to be consistent throughout the game.
Okay.
The Cardinals will win if
the defense can sack Matthew Stafford. So the Rams went 3-4 this year when Stafford was sacked multiple times, compared to the team was 9-1 when he was sacked either once or no times at all. So if you can get to the quarterback for Arizona, that could be a key to the game.
I literally wrote the same thing. My only difference was that they need to get to Stafford early in the game. Get him down 2-3 times right away. You're going to immediately get into his head. A quarterback that's been around the block, but been around the block in the playoffs once, twice.
No, maybe? I mean, no, he's like up there he's almost at Andy Dalton level of most playoff games without actually ever getting a playoff win. So Matthew Stafford is a huge question mark for a lot of people. Like, can he actually win in the postseason?
Right.
This would be the first one if he can do it.
Like a Phillip Rivers, so questionable. Yeah. Very questionable. Alrighty, the quarterback with the most passing yards will be.
With that being said, I'm going Matthew Stafford.
So actually, I'm going to go with Kyler Murray on this one. So here's actually how I see the game playing out offensively from a receiving standpoint. So listen, I think Stafford's going to hit Kupp as much as he can, not from far distances though. He's going to red zone 30-yard line, maybe 20. That's where he's going to hit Kupp this game. I think Kyler Murray is going to launch it as hard as he can. He's got James Conner, obviously, from a running game. I think we're going to see, and listen, it's Kyler Murray's first playoff game too. So he might be making these, irresponsible throws that might work out for him if someone magically catches it. So in that aspect, I think we're going to see more like launches, long throws from him. So that's why I'm going to go with him on that one. Okay. Alrighty. The running back with the most rushing yards will be.
Well, I'm not giving him love I'm not giving him the more love out of the quarterbacks in the passing wise, but I am going to go with Kyler Murray. He's going to be my second quarterback that I'm taking this weekend to be the leading rusher in their game.
Yeah. Well, for me, another questionable Wednesday's always the questionable people, but James Conner is also questionable, but I'm going to put my eggs in the basket and kind of risk it on this one. Because again, it looks a little optimistic for people. So he actually returned last week from an injury, was doing great, but actually left the game with an injury, but they're not thinking it's that serious. So I'm going to put my eggs in that basket. I'm going to go with James Conner on this one.
All right.
The wide receiver with the most receiving yards will be
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp. Easy peasy. The MVP of the game will be
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp. Easy peasy. And then maybe not so easy peasy. What is the final score of the game? I think this is my closest game.
I think this is one of my closest, and also I believe this is my highest scoring game of the weekend. I'm going 34-30 Rams.
All right, so we're close a little bit in score-wise. So I'm going 31-27 Rams.
Yes, that's close. That's close.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good game. Like, honestly, like these games are phenomenal. I can't wait. Take me to the weekend already, please.
Take me to the weekend. Take me there.
But great game. I'm going to be playing this throughout the playoffs. It's not going to be as long and as extensive because obviously teams will be eliminated after this weekend. But it's definitely fun to, for the first time, since we don't do it in the regular season, give you score predictions, everything like that. I can't wait to reference this back this week. I know. Be like, was I right on this and this and this and this and this? So, but with that being said, it is the point in the night where we get it off our chest. Positive, negative, football, housewives, life, wine, playoffs, Bama. I know that one hurts. But Kate,
does.
What do you got? I think yours is Bama, right?
It is. You know what? I'll keep it short. I got a little emotional about Bama earlier. Just a quick shout out to Nick Saban and that organization for just being stand-up people. I know sometimes it's easy for people to, quickly hate Bama fans, front runner, things like that. But, after the game, they do have their pressers, and they have to, after losing a game, you got to talk to the press. It's the same thing for college kids, for children. Literally, these guys are 18, 19, 20 years old, as opposed to NFL players that are adults. You still got to talk to the media when you're done losing a national championship game. So obviously you have Bryce Young, you've got Nick Saban, you got other players that are just facing the media about losing a game. So when it had ended where they just wanted to talk to Nick Saban, not the players, he sits down, he pulls two of his players down and it's just like, listen, like these guys are not defined from this game. They have brought, Bryce Young, Heisman Trophy winner. They have brought this team to the national championship, and they are everything that this organization is defined from. So it just really shows that, obviously press conferences aren't easy. They're going to ask you why you didn't do this, why you decided to make that play, why you lost. And you see it on the kids' faces. I'm going to call them kids because they are. You see it, and they're doing things that grown adults could not do. They could not go and lose in front of millions of fans, cameras, everything like that, then to face the world and tell them why you sucked and you didn't win. I couldn't do that. I'd be like, no. So basically you see it on their faces and it's just not the best. So I loved the leadership from Nick Saban to sit them down and be like, you know what? Like, I'm going to defend them and be like, we obviously lost. That is what it is, but it's not one game. And these kids not all of them are going to the draft next year. So they got to come back and they got to prove themselves again for a college team. So if you guys haven't seen the press conference, go out. It's on my Twitter. You see my Twitter on the screen right now at Caitlin Brower _. You got to look a couple days back. It's probably from Tuesday morning. So I was obviously upset going to bed Monday night, woke up Tuesday, still not happy. As soon as I saw that, though, I was definitely very happy, very proud to be an Alabama fan. So,
yeah. Well, I'm going to keep mine even shorter and just say, obviously, the Giants are on their head coach and GM search. And it's not that I agree or disagree with the firing of Joe Judge. It's more so, like I said earlier in the show, I just hate being this organization now that's just recycling through all these coaches like every couple seasons because we just suck and we can't get it right. So listen, at this point, I think we just get weird with it. And, this guy's going to be available this offseason. He is no longer going to be coaching at Duke. Let's bring in basketball great Mike Krzyzewski. Guy's a winner. Guy knows how to lead. He has great relationships with his players and his staff. And I don't care if he doesn't know a lick of football. Let's get weird. Coach K, head coach, New York Giants. I'm going to start the petition.
Let's get him, license plate guy. Let's just have a weird ass coaching.
Let's just do it. Let's just do it at this point. Who cares?
Bring me and you on. Like, just let's get crazy. I'm sure stranger things. Stranger things have happened. But I think it's a great petition to start. Let's just go ahead and do it.
Let's do it.
All righty. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, we want to give you the stuff not to miss. If you're watching us live right now, Real Housewives of Orange County is on tonight. This is Wednesday, January 12th at 9 p.m. Atlanta is on Sundays at 8 p.m. Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, which is getting spicy, is on Sunday at 9 p.m. We have Wild Card Weekend, like we spoke about all episodes. Saturday, your games are Vegas versus Cincinnati at 4:30 p.m. New England versus Buffalo at 8:15 p.m. Sunday, your games are Philly versus Tampa Bay at 1 p.m. San Francisco versus Dallas at 4:30 p.m. Pittsburgh versus Kansas City at 8:15 p.m. And your Monday game, as we said throughout the show, there's a Monday playoff game, people. It's the Arizona Cardinals versus the Los Angeles Rams at 8:15. We have a loaded playoff weekend. I'm excited. Katie's excited. The football world is excited. It's going to be a phenomenal weekend in football. I can't wait to talk to you guys about it next week. As always, thank you guys for joining us. We love it. We will see you next time. Enjoy football. Enjoy Housewives, wine, life, everything. So until
Go Niners, go Bucks.
Niners and Bucks, let's go. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.